recording. So let me set up the thing. Here we go. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to start with origin stories.
Oh.
This is my new friend, and she's going to tell you how we met.
Well, we were standing in line in the Standard, ordering drinks, and you noticed my shirt that says, I dissent, I dissent, I dissent, I dissent. Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote.
I said, I'm glad she sent you. And you said,
And I said, actually, my grandmother sent me.
tell me more.
So, my grandmother was Parisian.
For Okies, tell me what that means.
Oh, she was from Paris, France.
My mom said France.
Paris, France, not Paris, Texas. And she was a young woman who survived the Nazi occupation of Paris in the 40s during World War II.
Please tell me more about the memories she shared with you, about her first-hand accounts.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have two that I'll share specifically. One was she was going home from something one evening and turned down the wrong street.
Why was it a wrong street?
Well, she knew it was a wrong street because there was no one around except for two Nazi soldiers standing at the bottom of some stairs that led into like a brownstone kind of situation.
Tell me what she knew was the usual for her to recognize that as the unusual.
Well, usually there would have been some people around, you know, in the street, coming and going. No one was coming and going. Everything was quiet. It was dark. The shades were pulled on all the houses. And except for these two Nazi soldiers outside of the house, and she said, I knew what was going on inside that house, and it was likely some kind of torture.
And do you remember the emotion that your grandmother had when she told the story?
Yeah, she was normally she was vibrant and fun, and when she told that story, she was very serious. And she said, I was so scared. I mean, I think that's an understatement. I was so scared. And I knew that I just had to put my head down and keep walking. Because if I looked them in the eye, if I acted wrong, I would have been next. The other story I'll tell you is that she ran around with a group of friends who were very sporty. She played tennis, she swam. My mom has said she was a runner. That I didn't know.
I was a runner.
I know, but imagine being a woman in the 1940s being a runner.
But sounds badass.
She was a badass. And but she ran around with this group of friends, and they were sneaky, and they knew they had to stay safe. They knew they couldn't do anything totally overt, but they would go out at night. And I don't know if she actually did this or if it was like people in the group of her friends would go out at night under the cover of darkness. And for whatever reason, the Nazis would leave their boots out on the stoops. And they would go and steal one boot from each pair as their form of resistance.
How did you feel the last time you were looking for a pair of shoes and you couldn't find one?
I mean, so frustrated.
That's maniacal brilliance,
isn't it? And what talk about, peaceful resistance and so powerful.
Badass.
Pretty much a badass.
Would you like to hear what my grandma was doing?
I want to know exactly what your grandma was doing.
My grandma, Edna Lee, she worked as a riveter in Wichita, Kansas at the Cessna plant.
No shit.
Do you think your grandma and my grandma might be doing high fives or a little dancey dance right now?
They are in heaven looking down at us going, that's our girls. I'm getting a little teary.
Tell me what I said when you told me what your name was and how you said you spelled it.
Oh, my name is Meredith, and and you said, I have a sister-in-law whose name is Meredith, and I said, does she spell it right? And you said, yes, and didn't spell it, so I said Meredith. And you said, is there any other way to spell it? I mean, I've seen people bastardize that like there's no tomorrow.
Name Nazis.
Name Nazis. I mean,
so tell me why you wore the shirt that you're wearing.
Today we went to a No Kings rally in Norman, Oklahoma, and I wore my Ruth Bader Ginsburg I Dissent shirt.
And that opened the door for me to say hi to you.
Yes, it did, and I'm so glad you did.
Aren't there fun ways to open doors?
I mean, when we see these things that connect us as humans, we can't not. We can't not say hi. It's a connection point. It's beautiful.
I feel like we're on the streets of Paris going Vive la Resistance.
Vive la Resistance.
So I watched the movie Lee not long ago, like Lee, L-E-E.
Oh.
And it is a story of a woman who is a journalist, is a photographer, and she wanted to go to the war zone during World War II. Her story is, I think, from the same streets that your grandmother and her friends might have been trooping along for freedom. And there's a scene in that movie. And first of all, I wanted to say I watched the movie because I saw Kate Winslet promoting it with passion, the likes of which you don't see on usual sort of press junket tours.
Yeah.
And I have been discovering connections with the name Lee, L-E-E, with my own ancestral roots. And my grandma is Edna Lee. She named my father Verden Lee, V-I-R-D-E-N-L-E-E. My father's birthday was yesterday.
Oh.
My father, on his birthday in 1945, signed up to volunteer to go fight.
That's amazing. What I didn't tell you is my grandfather was American and landed the beaches of Normandy exactly 1 month after the main invasion. Guess what his first name was?
Lee.
Lee.
Magic woo-woo. How fun is that? I came because I love the blues. The blues births itself out of the mud of Mississippi, the Delta, where all the sludge and muck and gross goes. I came because I wanted to go to that No Kings rally. The story that I told you earlier is the first rally, I was in Columbia, South Carolina. My husband, I told you, is the road warrior. He started a habit of going to every OU football game when he was in law school.
Every single one.
He has not missed one since October of 1991.
Wow. Okay, so you were in South Carolina. He was at the game.
Gamecocks. And you said, here? And I said, no, I just said, I in my mind, I said, didn't I just say Columbia, South Carolina? But in your mind, the point of reference was local because
the University of Oklahoma women were playing, just lost to the University of South Carolina Gamecocks in the NCAA women's basketball tournament.
So there's a lot of musical Bach resolution going on with this story development.
It's very
because
Seinfeld.
I don't know what it is, except it's true to me and it's true to you. And whatever we interpret from that, we get to interpret it because we're goddamn Americans, damn it.
Yes!
So we had the benefit of the efforts of the resistance in the most clever, badass ways of your grandmother and her friends. We had the story of my grandma being a Rosie the Riveter, doing everything she could to bring the soldiers home. I have a memory of being in her dining room with all the cousins and aunts and uncles and my grandpa, who got shot at a filling station and lived the rest of his life to talk about it.
Wow.
And that dining room table, my grandma would always say, we remember Wayne. We wish Wayne was here, but he's in Vietnam, and we just wish that he can come home.
Who is that?
Wayne Turner is the first grandchild of my grandma and grandpa Turner, my dad, Burden Lee's parents. My dad and my mom named the first two children with Lee of some veneration or, not desecration. Well, kind of. It's not an L-E-E, but I'm an L-E-S-L-I-E, where, people in America, English would say lie. I don't lie. I am the daughter of a man of integrity. It would burn me to the core if I did lie. It's impossible. So, L-I-E. My sister Leanne is L-E-A-N-N-E, and her name came to mind when you told me that people spell Meredith in all different ways because she was so frustrated. Something about my sister that is endearing to me that brings a smile instead of tears when I think of her. And that reminds me of the line in Counting Crows, Mrs. Potter's lullaby, that the price of a memory is the memory of the sorrow it brings. Yeah. Sit on that for a minute. We're on the blue couch. You got a parasol. They carry those at the second lines in New Orleans. So we got a lot of spirit connecting going on right now because we came for the blues.
Oh, yes. We're at the Standard in Norman, Oklahoma for the Blues and Jazz Fest on March 28th, 2026. After the No Kings rally in Norman, Oklahoma.
Because we realize that we're badasses too.
I mean, and how freaking cool is it that in the middle of Oklahoma, you've got this little blue pocket fighting for democracy and freedom.
Can you just describe what colors are on this sofa area right now?
Red, white, blue, and rainbow.
Happy Declaration of Goddamn Independence from Tyrants, right?
You said it, sister.
Pretty on brand, right?
Yeah.
I am a public relations professional. I'm waiting for those honorary APR, initials I can put after my in character, the dancing chaplain, and I have initials that I was working with therapists at the veteran therapy group to help veterans who are battling the ghosts that whisper in their ear, it's easier if I just die and go to spirit as a shortcut. My sister took that shortcut. I call it Exit 16. Ask me why I call it Exit 16.
Please tell me, why do you call it Exit 16?
My sister married a man who had deployed 5 times into combat zones. After the Afghanistan return, they got married. He slept with a firearm under the pillow, and he had night terrors. And she would awaken to horror because of what happened to him. And what happened to her is why she took Exit 16. What she had was a trauma of the non-physical variety initially that developed into physical ailments. And no one in Oklahoma has the trauma literacy skills or experienced sort of nomenclature to connect dots that are invisible except by behaviors that get labeled as judgmental instead of as attribution. So that's my daughter. She's going to come. She's my oldest, and I had her as a result of a reunion I had that forced a shotgun wedding because I was prohibited from access to information about my body and then shamed for the natural results. But she's doing great, but she's got resiliency off the charts, motherfucker. And I went out of state.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree, did it?
Right, and I have professional evidence that proves those biological connections that go. But I'm in a place of privilege, which I am so blessed because the early parts of my life were not filled with that. And we had to go out of state and pay out of pocket to have people connect the dots, and it starts with a forensic psychologist who does that, and it's supported with the ways that they use science to identify the markers that indicate contributing factors. And so no one speaks the lingo of the invisible trauma that is caused by invalidation, which seems pretty on brand for, of course, it's no wonder, because the invalidation comes by the voice being silenced and the opportunities being
taken away.
Yes. So I think my grandma and your grandma are giving us some badass advice that we're sharing with the world about why this matters.
Absolutely. My grandmother taught me, she lived, so imagine marrying an American GI who brought her home to the States, to the cornfields of Nebraska, out of Paris, France.
Talk about bridges of Madison County.
Oh, gosh, it's been 100 years since I've seen
So
that.
Meryl Streep's character is a transplanted European post-war wife that is brought to the middle of nowhere in a farming community.
Yeah, same idea. Same idea. So she was in Nebraska, Kansas, Arkansas, ended up in Oklahoma, which is where I'm originally from. I live in Colorado now. But
Loveland or Fort Collins?
Colorado Springs.
Not far.
And she, oh, look, my food's ready.
I think we've got some magic here.
I do too. I do
So,
too. But
if you would like to connect with me, let's connect. But please finish this little story.
I will finish this little story. So that same woman who resisted in her own ways, survived the Nazi occupation, ended up in El Reno, Oklahoma, because my grandfather was on the railroad. Lee was on the railroad.
I spoke to a candidate for an office whose whole life was railroad, and he had been to the same park in Lawrence, Kansas, where I climbed on those trains when my loving grandparents took us as a field trip.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Lee,
I mean, it's all about the Lees. And my grandma, just to give her, to honor her, her name was Jeanette. And,
spell that for the record.
Well,
The way that you think she was
on
rocking it in Paris.
on her birth certificate, it was Ginette. When she moved here, she changed the spelling to Janet.
She surrendered her identity.
Well, not so much. She just wanted to make it easier for people to pronounce.
So she's smart.
She was very smart. And she ran businesses. She owned businesses. And even in the forcibly desegregated town of El Reno, Oklahoma in the 1970s.
They're still working on who has access to it.
Yeah. She hired a black man from literally the other side of the tracks, and the whole town went bonkers, like, what are you doing? And she said, hard worker, amazing human being, he's working for me.
Don't you love how France saw people?
I mean, and that's the cloth that I feel so blessed to be cut from.
Can I end with a doozy?
Yes.
My grandfather was shot at a filling station when my dad was a baby. So my grandma had 2 infants, and he was working at a gas station. I don't remember what it was, but it's some road that goes from 2440 highway, which goes to Colorado. It goes to Colorado, where she is. Our grandparents connect through us. And how'd I start that story? Oh, he got shot.
Yeah.
So he's at that gas station, and the emergency responder was a sheriff's deputy in Leavenworth County who pursued, and he got shot and killed. I sent a request to Leavenworth County Sheriff's Department, where I have my dad's first cousin was the county sheriff for years and years and years, Terry Campbell. And that's the side of the family my grandma, Edna Lee Campbell, is from. And my grandma loved his baby girl, adored his wife. My grandma took in a daughter after she had 3 sons and put her in homemade fairy dresses for dance lessons. I call myself the dancing chaplain now. I'm wearing my chaplain tag that I work with veterans. And that man died, and I made an inquiry to find out what the name of that officer was. So if anything comes of our story, I honor those men, the one that your grandma honored and the one that gave his life for my grandfather.
Amen. Beautiful.
Magic at the Blues. We're polishing some turds, aren't we?
I love it. Here's to no kings in America.
Cheers. Hey, get your drink. Hey, you got a drink? Cheers. I love it.